Good afternoon. This is September 26th, 2006. It's 5:30. This is a special called board meeting, the Brownsville Independent School District Board of Trustees. This meeting is now called to order. Would you please rise for a moment of silence? And I would ask that we think about and perhaps say a prayer for Fernando Enriquez and his family who have a hard time, and we need to pray for them.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
If I might also add that perhaps we need to say a prayer for Mr. Lehman. He's in the hospital. Was in the hospital. He still is?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Aguilar, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On earth, the flag, liberty to receive, Texas, one and indivisible.
Roll call. Norma, do you want to take roll? Just So we don't know if Ms. Galvan, has she called in? Okay. Well, we'll just, so far she's tardy. And as mentioned, Mr. Lehman is in hospital right now. He's doing well, and he should, prognosis is good. I'd like to, before we get started, I'd like to thank Coach, especially Coach Rodriguez, for all of his effort and work, and his coaching staff, all the coaches, all the kids, bands, cheerleaders from all the different schools. We had a tremendous participation at Ringgold Park on Saturday, and I'm sorry, Dean Porter. It's Ringgold Park to me. But we had a tremendous turnout of Brownsville people, and they really their heart went out, and it was unprecedented success. I understand more than $25,000 or approximately $25,000 was made. We had a lot of donations, and I apologize. I don't have the names of all of the people that donated their time and their materials and their work. And I don't want to mention them because I'd forget someone and not do someone else justice. But I do have to mention Coach Rodriguez, Joe Rodriguez, and his coaching staff who really went the extra mile, and the people of Brownsville who were so patient. We ran out of food several times, and actually served food from about 11 o'clock in the morning to past 5:30 in the afternoon, 5:30, 6 o'clock. So thank you, Brownsville, and please keep Fernando and Ricky's in your prayers. At this time, I am going to ask if there are any objections from the board to change the order of the day. I would like to entertain a motion to change the order of the day and move item 6 in front of item 1, 6 all the way through item 7B, and you want to do number 5? Oh, okay. I have a motion to recommend approving the agenda of the special call board meeting of September 26, 2006, with any deletions. Are there any? Okay.
Move to approve.
At this point, I would like to ask that we change the order of the day, and that we go into closed session and take up items 6 through 7B, and then we'll return and continue with A1 and finish up.
Second.
Do I have a second? We'll, based upon Texas Government Code, Section 551071, all in favor? Opposed? Is anyone opposed? Okay. Texas Government Code, Section 551071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.082, and 551.084 allows us to go into closed meeting. We're now in closed session. We'll be back. We're back in regular session, and we're going to take item 6, personnel matters. Discussion, consideration, and possible action on the selection of a superintendent. Do I have a motion to instruct administration to post a 10-day posting requirement for an in-house only search for BISD superintendent?
I move as stated.
A second.
Second.
Mr. President,
Go ahead, sir.
before we vote, I just want to express my opinion that I feel that we should do an open search, a national search for superintendent, and that it should be something that involves all stakeholders, the community, faculty, district staff, everyone that has a stake in the school district should be able to be a part of the process. And I also feel that it should be something that we would select a permanent superintendent after the general election. Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye, raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes 4-2. Item 6A. That was 7, wasn't it? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, you're correct. Item 7, consultation with attorney regarding pending and or threatened litigation matters. In the case of Texas Workers' Compensation Solutions and Edwards Risk Management, do I have a motion to proceed with the settlement as discussed in executive session?
Move.
Have a
I'll
motion
second.
and a second? All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. In the matter of Champion Gallego Schools bonding agent AIG, do I have a motion to accept the settlement as discussed in executive session?
Move.
Have a motion?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, back to item 1. A1, recommend to approve the Mutual of Omaha ASO renewal for the BISD self-funded medical health program for school year 2006-2007. Services to be provided subject to the district's needs and funding. Do I have a motion?
Move.
Second.
Discussion, please. No discussion. All in favor of this? All opposed? Unanimous. Item 2, discussion, consideration, and possible action on awarding RFP number 07-037 for third-party administrative services, TPA, for the BISD Self-Insured Workers' Compensation Program, services to be provided subject to the district's need and funding. This is item 2. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, discussion.
Discussion.
I got nothing to say other than
We're on item 2.
item 2, correct.
Okay. I need a motion and a second before we go to
Okay.
discussion, do we not?
Superintendent's recommendation, or you want me,
Two.
Did they need a motion for anything other than to discuss it yet or not?
and I think we discussed it on the insurance meeting, so unless there's other discussions, I move to award RFP 070037 for the third-party administration to TriStar to be service provided subject to district needs and funding.
I'll second the motion.
Is there any discussion?
I got no discussion.
Go ahead then.
Susan, go on.
Yeah, according to the insurance committee meeting that we had, I just wanted to clarify that we are not going to be losing that big amount that was stated on the handout that was given to us. We went by the percentage and analyzed it and compared, and really our district, it was more or less the same price, and we went with what we already have because we know the company.
Correct.
So I'd like to make a statement stating that we are not really going to be losing that big amount that on the handout it looked like we were.
Right, correct.
Right?
Correct. Since it's not broken, why change it? Correct.
Right.
Mr. Munoz?
Yes, sir. Mr.
And I
Aguilar.
would like for the administration to identify the company. I didn't see it, perhaps it's an oversight or,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Munoz, Mr. Ayala, members of the board. Yes, what we did and what was discussed is basically we had I awarded this agenda item for this particular purposes because it ends on October 1st. So I need a TPA at that particular time. If it's voted down one way, then it needs to go to another because I need a. And this is probably one of the hardest ones that I've ever in my career had to look at and make a decision at. And it's what is it? And it's for 1 year. I can't even consider year 2 or 3 because it does have options to go to year 2 or 3, but I can't take any action for year 2 or 3. This is action only for this year from October 1st. So when I look at it, I look at what's the hard cost, and the hard cost is 221 versus 333. That's a CAS at 221, 202.50, and TriStar at 333.000. So when you look at that and say, okay, it's pretty obvious we should go with CAS. That's the hard cost. But when you look at the other part of it that says that they will take 25% of the savings on CAS versus a fixed amount. So what we did is we looked at it, and I talked to Mr. Sanchez again today, and we looked at it and said the numbers, we provided the numbers to both TriStar and CAS, which were the two lowest bids, and said, okay, based on the information that was available last year, what would your cost be this year? And we didn't coach them or anything. We just told them, here it is. Give us, because there's that back-end cost of 25% versus, or a per claim basis. And when they came back, this are their numbers, 733,315 for CAS and 733,000 for. So it becomes a, hey, $315 difference. So based on it, we're only going to look at it for 1 year. We would have to reconsider it again the following year. It would be $315 less if we went with TriStar. And those are with the intangible cost in there, saying if we have the same amount of savings that we had last year, which we don't anticipate not having, this would be the cost. So looking at it, I have no objections to TriStar, and that's okay.
Mr. Gonzalez, I have a question. What was the indicated cost for 0506, the savings to us? What was the number used to factor these out?
Believe Mr. Sanchez, you might want to help me out. What was that, about 1.6, 1.7?
I
think we're basically about 1.8.
1.8. That's where I got the number from, 1.8, because that's what you told me, 1.8.
And that's for 0506?
0506.
So we use that to factor out these
numbers.
The rest.
I think it was over 2.5 million for 050.
2.4?
2.4.
2.4 is the number I heard.
Right.
Okay, under $2.4 million. And that's giving the formula, right, Mr. Sanchez, to both saying, here it is, you got equal, look at it, based on your back-end cost, what would it be? What would be the bottom number for BISD at the end? And the bottom number for BISD at the end would be, the cost would be $733,315 for CAS and $733,000 for TriStar. Based on that, you have to go with the one that's there. If you look only at the hard numbers, which is only the tangible administrative cost only, and we had zero savings and zero everything and no claims, then for the administration, of course, it would be CAS. But we know we don't have that.
Another thing, Mr. President, I think it's very interesting. It's when we changed to the TPA, I wasn't on the board back then, but it's over $6 million right in 3 years of savings. And I think that's the numbers we need to look at. That is a substantial amount of money that we as BISD keep in our pocket.
The savings
Can we,
is
excuse me, Mr. Munoz, can we verify that, Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Can the administration go back into the books and say, in the past 2 or 3 years, we're able to save X number of dollars?
Yeah,
So you
Mr.
tell me
Sanchez,
that- excuse me, sir. But you tell me then, the fact is that he was correct then, what Mr. Powers saying that we were going to save some money, rather than going to the CB. See, my problem is this. At one time, the administration came to us and said, we're going to go this. And then we have a board member that comes and interjects and all this, which is fine. But there's other things behind it that I thought it was not appropriate. And then when administration fights so hard for one company, and then all of a sudden we change, and perhaps it's because of different information, which is okay, when we provided this information. You know, I have questions on that, you know, and it bothers me that why did we come out with this kind of figures prior to the last insurance company? And that's all it is.
Right.
And if the administration can say, yes, it's correct, we do save money, then the question is, then why can a minister make such a big mistake?
Mr. Sanchez, would you want to clear that up for us, please?
Yeah, there's a couple of things, board members, that maybe need to explain. On the workers' comp, we look at total gross wages is the main driver for, and the type of wages that, you know, it's professional wages, we have hourly, bus drivers, and all those kinds of things. And so how have we built a reserve that not necessarily the $6 million that we're talking about comes from savings because we have the savings from the TPA. We also have a percentage that we apply to those gross salaries. And our percentage, because we're applying that percentage to those gross salaries, you're developing a fund balance, but not necessarily have to be all attributed to the savings to the TPA. It is also because we are, when we talk about the benefits, we're taking a particular percent amount, and we've been increasing that to develop a buffer, and that buffer has been adding up into a fund balance. But it's not a you could say it's a combination of savings from the TPA, but it's also a combination from the budget numbers that we budgeted, and as our salaries have grown, where you're setting aside more benefits, so the numbers keep increasing. You know, if you take the salaries paid back 5 years ago versus the total dollar salaries now and apply that percentage number, well, that fund balance is growing by that amount. That's something that at finance we've been talking about. Maybe we need to look at, maybe we're in that benefit because we're charging everyone that particular benefit. If it's 3.4%, maybe we need to go down to 3% instead of taking 3.4% out of the gross and setting that aside. So it's a combination of two things. It's a combination of the percent that we've been using for benefits and then some savings attributed to the TPA. And so it's two figures.
May I address Mr. Sanchez? Do you have the numbers, the savings, the indicated savings for 04, 05, and 03, 04? What I'm searching for is 05, 06. Is that a banner year? Is that an anomaly, or is that?
Well, you have to remember, Mr. Munoz, if I may, that before we became self-funded, at one point in time we were paying like $6 million, or was it $6 million, $7 million premium? $6.2 million on a fully funded plan, and then we went self-funded. Okay, and so our claims were high, and then as the claims went down, you know, our contributions, just like we do for health insurance, but we're putting aside in budget, you know, the claims are going down and we're maintaining our budget, so you're seeing a fund balance grow to an extent. And so that's one of the reasons that happened also, because we shifted from fully insured, and then we've been, this is our starting our 4th year of being self-funded. Let's see if he's got those numbers. This is a 2.4 for this past. Okay, 0405, 2.3. 0304, 1.2 for 0304. First year 2.3 and then 2.4. So you can see that progression, but
Well, my observation with the CAS and the TriStar is that what we see here with the $300 difference, $315 difference, this is the breaking point between the two. In other words, if we exceed my interpretation of this is if we exceed 2.4 million, we win going TriStar. If we are under that next year, then we win with CAS.
Right.
And
Yes,
there
sir.
are so many intangibles.
that is a good comparison, yes, sir.
Fair comparison. And once again, it depends. This is why I told you that it's very difficult because of the intangibles that you have. But do you want to look at just hard numbers, or do you want to know, have we had savings? Yes. Or do we project that we're going to get somewhere between the 2.3, 2.5? Yes. That's what we project is going to be in the savings. I don't think we're going to be not getting those savings. But once again, you know, it's an intangible because sometimes I find it hard to believe that we're only going to spend $10,000 on investigations.
Yeah.
That's I don't know, it could happen. But in the past, if we look straight across the last 2 years, we did $75,000, $81,000 in investigations. So I don't know. It's an intangible thing. I like to look at it for one more year, and then after that, if we need to go out for bids again, we'll go out for bids again. I think I cannot project past 1 year, but I can tell you that we are going to have some savings that are going to be pretty significant. I don't expect it not to happen, but I could be wrong. So this is why it's so hard to make a clear-cut, easy decision. If you want to look at administrative cost of the first one, there it is. But if you want to look at the true cost, it's probably going to be that total cost bottom line.
The
And those are their numbers, not ours.
Administrative costs are $111,897.50
Difference.
Plus, if we were to match 0304 or be in the ballpark 0304, 0405, we would win with CAS, or we would lose with TriStar, however you want to look at it. So we have a motion. Is there any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. This is a motion to accept TriStar.
TriStar.
All in favor of the motion to select TriStar, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, motion. I am going to I'm going to vote for CAS. So it's motion passes 5-1. Item 3, recommend awarding RFP number 07-037 to Wachovia Insurance Service, Midwest Employers Casualty Company, services to be provided subject to the district's need and funding. Do I have a motion?
Move.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Discussion. Do we have any discussion, gentlemen?
Mr. Munoz, just one.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. The only question is, I think I'm like Mr. Gonzalez, we do need the insurance. I'd rather be safe than sorry. I know it came in very low, Mr. Gonzalez, but by the end of the year, I know they have to do a workman's comp audit based on the total payroll. You think that number's going to change from 141 to a higher amount?
I don't anticipate that. I spoke with Mr. Sanchez. We don't anticipate that at all. It is a real good reinsurance. We have one heavy claim. This is a stop loss at 350. After 350, we're not liable anymore. The reinsurance takes over.
Okay.
So you know that one person falling off a roof, or one bad bus accident with a bus driver, or car accident with one of our maintenance persons or whatever, or even one of the coaches or whatever that is allowed to drive. 250,000 nowadays in the hospital is hardly anything. So that would put us at a stop loss of 300 per occurrence, not cumulative. So that's good.
Okay, good.
It really is worth the 141,000 in my opinion,
Okay.
because it's a good insurance on a district this size.
That's
It's
what I
not a
wanna
whole
hear.
lot of money.
That's what I want to hear. All right.
And I have a question. Is there a cap on that? 350 above to what?
Up to a million, and after that, we're still not liable. They would have to basically go through litigation if they wanted more money than that. So we're stopped at the 350, and then this reinsurance would pay the difference between 350 and a million.
Okay. Then it's back to us?
No, Mr.
It stops there.
Mr.
Go ahead.
President, Mr. Munoz, there are some statutory caps, okay, even up
see.
to including gross negligence under the Texas Labor Code.
I see. Okay.
Basically stops there.
Do we have any other discussion, gentlemen, ladies? All in favor? All opposed? It's unanimous. Now comes the good one. Item 4, discussion, consideration, and possible action on guidelines of the joint election with Cameron County on November 7th, 2006, including early voting. This is item 4. Do we have it back up?
This might be just discussion, so let me,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Go ahead, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Munoz, members of the board. This is, we put it on because we thought we were going to need some action, but I'm going to let you know we had to take administrative action because of the way the policy, the elections are being held. We talked to Roger Ortiz, with the elections administrator, and we talked to their lawyers, and Mike was involved, Mr. Saldana was involved there, and if we need be, we can get Mr. Saldana to give his legal point of view on this one. But basically, they told us they needed to order the ballots on yesterday, Monday. So we had to make an administrative decision. We couldn't wait. We were not going to put this election on hold or have to go out there and run our own or whatever, because we couldn't make a decision. So basically, the decision that was made by Mr. Ortiz was that we were going our own ballot. And we're going to order approximately 49,000 plus ballots. That's his decision. We have to abide by the numbers he is requesting. We already sent a letter to the Secretary of State asking him to do an arbitration on the total cost. And that Mr. Ortiz did say that these were estimates that he provided for us, and that we had, he would at the end provide us with total cost. In the meantime, the election goes on. We will be on our own ballot. The BISD will have their own ballot for this election. They required us to have a signed contract yesterday by the end of the day, or else they wouldn't do it. And because Mr. Lehman was not available, being in the hospital, and I think Mr. Escobedo, Dr. Escobedo, was tied up in a meeting. The Assistant Secretary, with Ms. Galvan, did us the right thing by signing the contracts. We wouldn't have this election put on hold. So basically, there's no action to be taken. It's more information that we are going to go on the November 7th joint election. But because of the procedures that are involved, we were forced to make an administrative decision. I did not want to put that on hold. So we're all going to go on our own separate ballot. And it is going to be on November 7th. And Mr. Ortiz is going to manage it. And they already ordered the ballots. Is that correct? Okay. Any questions?
Yes. Will we? Does that mean that they're going to use 37 more voting machines, or are they going to charge us for more voting machines, or what?
The thing about it is this, Mr. Munoz, is right now
the Secretary of State has already been mailed, and they will be discussing it with Mr. Ortiz and us as to what arbitration will be. Right now, there's only, as Mr. Ortiz said, this is only a good estimate, and that he will come back with final numbers at the end. At that particular time, I'm sure the Secretary of State will look at it once again, because that was the instructions that we had, and we did send it out to the Secretary of State. Mike, you want to make any comments on that?
No, other than as far as the total cost, that's still going to be the Secretary of State's call. And the parties have agreed, just to take away any ambiguity that we may have had under the statute, that we've agreed that it'll be a true arbitration. In other words, whatever their call is, the call is.
And our argument is of course the cost, the pro rata cost that they're using. Plus, I would like to make it clear that we see no need to be on a separate ballot. Certainly, there is no need to have separate voting machines, precinct ballot counters. Because as you know, when you vote, your ballot is accepted or rejected by the voting machine, and if it's accepted, it drops into the storage bin beneath the machine. But if it were a true separate ballot, it would have to be another machine where that ballot would be segregated from the rest of the ballots. So I think that it's in our interest, certainly it's in our interest, to be treated in the same manner that the county is treated with the state races. You have 1, 2, or 3 ballots, front and back, whatever it may take. It may take 1.5 ballots to do any propositions, any state or local propositions, any state issues, any local county issues, and us. So I certainly the state, I don't believe, is going to use a separate ballot from the county. And so by virtue of that reasoning, I don't see why there is any reason for us to use a separate ballot. And certainly the mechanism of using a separate ballot would necessitate a separate machine, which would greatly increase the cost of the election. And I do not believe the county has the resources as another 37 machines sitting around in the warehouse. So I would include this in our argument to the Secretary of State that we are protesting being considered on a separate ballot, and certainly the number of ballots and the appropriateness of the pro rata share that we're being assessed. I think that is what we have to convey to Mrs. Henshaw at Secretary of State Elections. Is there any, do we have any? Yes, Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Acting President. I think Mr. Gonzalez was going to bring back a report that involves what would cost for a separate ballot. I think you should have a separate ballot. I think we're going to get lost in the shuffle between parties. I think so, because some people might vote straight ticket and then forget to turn it over in the back and vote for the BISD. And if I walk into precinct 61 and they give me a ballot, one for BISD and one for the general election, then I know I'm going to vote for that. I highly recommend, let's see what the hard numbers are for the for a separate ballot. I recommend separate ballot, folks, just for clarity on the people voting.
If I may, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, we'll have no choice already. The decision has already been made, separate ballots, because we had to print the ballots. We had no choice. Our hand was forced into a decision whether we get no printed ballots at all or we go separate ballots. And Mike, Mr. Saldana was there, Bert Peña was there. We had to make a decision. And we didn't, I certainly was not going to jeopardize this. And how much is it going to cost us? It's going to cost us about $14,000 to go on separate ballots, just on the ballot itself. And because we couldn't even tell him order less or anything. He's got his formulas that he uses as the election administrator. And based on those formulas, he projected close to 50,000 ballots. We might not agree with that, but because it's a November election, he felt that he needed to have that many ballots. So, once again, we had no time for an emergency meeting or anything of the sort to be able to do that. So we were told we either go separate or you don't go. They can't order the ballots. So I said, order the ballots. We'd certainly have to have this election.
Well, certainly that indicates that it's arbitrary on his part, and I don't think we agree with the full measure that the county is taking with us, and we'll let the state arbitrate. But I really do not see any reason. There will be, because it is a partisan election, there are always issues on the ballots. So people have to peruse the ballot. You can't vote a straight ticket for an issue. If someone misses something, it's because they're not paying attention. But I don't think we would really miss very many ballots. Most people are going to look at the entire ballot. Like I say, it could be front and back of one ballot or two ballots or even more. And to truly have a separate ballot would require separate machines, because the ballot, when it's processed in the precinct ballot counter, it drops to the bottom of the box. So then the next ballot that would be through there, if that was the third of 3 ballots, the next ballot coming through there would be a regular state or county ballot. So what sort of segregation would be possible, I have no idea. Certainly the computers that tabulate the votes would tabulate the results instantaneously. At the moment in time that you tabulate the state returns and the county returns, you would also have the local returns. So I don't see any argument whatsoever for having a separate ballot, segregating that ballot somehow, processing that ballot separately. It just doesn't make any sense at all. So I certainly hope that this can be explained fully and that there are no anomalies in the election process. But we must go forward. That is our point. So we have a motion. Is there any further discussion?
There's no motion.
There's no motion. This is
Mr. President,
discussion.
Acting President.
Right.
Mr. Acting President.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry. Don't forget that we have a regular board meeting scheduled on November 7th, so we need to reschedule that.
That will be placed on the agenda on the October 3rd board meeting.
All right, moving on. Item 5, recommend approval to pay Scoggins Construction Company $418,806.76 to be paid from local maintenance funds. Do I have a motion?
Move. Second.
Second. Discussion. The only discussion I have is that indicates by dollars that we're 75.81% complete, and we have, this was as of 9/7, we have approximately 12 weeks to complete. I would caution the administration. I keep hearing that this is no problem to complete by 1st of December. That last 25% is tough. That last 5% is even tougher. So I would hope that we would keep a very close eye on this. 75% sounds real good, but at this stage of the game, it's going to be real hard getting that last 24.5%. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor of paying? Aye. All against? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Announcements, Mr. Gonzalez.
Just like regular scheduled board meeting.
Okay, next scheduled board meeting of the Board of Trustees on Tuesday, October 3rd, 2006. That's the next regular meeting. Anyone have anything they'd like to add tonight, gentlemen?
Yes, I'd like to comment on the superintendent search. May I do that?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to say that superintendent search probably takes over a year, or well, it takes around a year to have happen, and I do feel that there is an urgency in our community that we move it forward for our children. And if somebody does come from afar, from another state, that's text that they have to learn and tax and a whole new system. I do also feel that there's very capable administrators in our district. I'm very proud to say that they are hard workers and they are successful. And that is the reason why I did go ahead and favor the vote on in-house.
Well, before we get that, I would like to reinforce what Ms. Galvan says, and I feel like she does, that we have a lot of talent in-house, and certainly we have proven leadership in-house, and by staying in-house we have continuity and stability. We have some identified problems that we need to address now, And certainly, this is, whatever we do, this is Mr. Gonzalez's year. If we were to go out and beat the bushes on a state or national search, certainly we wouldn't probably hire anyone until the year was nearly over. And then that person would take probably a year to learn the district and to understand what he's faced with. And it would take us a while to learn him also. So we have a tremendous advantage in hiring in-house. And we know what we have available, and certainly we are not unimpressed with the talent that we have to choose from. So I would urge that we choose from someone in-house and get on with addressing the problems that we've identified. Mr. Gonzalez?
Thank you. Just one more announcement, and just a reminder for everybody that open house is next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday of next week. So if you can, get out and visit one of our schools during open house. Appreciate it.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Second. Motion. Thank you. Meeting closed.